Chapter 1221. Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely fast. With a swipe of her glass sword, she directly took out the demon crystal from the black fox ferret. With a casual toss, White Lion caught the demon crystal and began to chew on it. Indeed, the speed of this black fox ferret is much faster than the black fox ferrets in the outside world. Whether it is speed or power, it is much stronger. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was warm and light, her phoenix eyes flashing with the light of wisdom. The yuan qi of the small world is far richer than the outside world. These monsters are in such abundant yuan qi all year round. It is not surprising that their strength is stronger than the monsters in the outside world. Xia Jiqing's face showed a look of realization. So, the monsters in this small world are more difficult to deal with. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It seems that we can't judge the strength of the monsters in the same way as before. For a while, everyone's expression was dignified. In these 2 years in the small world, they needed to be careful everywhere. As everyone continued to move forward, monsters appeared from time to time, which also made everyone understand how many monsters there were in the small world. Fortunately, everyone was full of energy, and the monsters that appeared were not too strong, so they successfully defeated the monsters after fighting for a while. Among all of them, Baishir was the happiest. In this small world, the demon crystal was really everywhere. After seeing several monsters, everyone finally believed in Bailey Hongzhuang's judgment. All the monsters here were a bit stronger than the outside world, and it was more difficult to deal with them. As everyone beheaded the monsters, they also found that the points on their identity cards were also increasing. Different levels of monsters had different points, and the final result was judged according to their points. Just during the day there are so many monsters. If it is at night, the number of monsters will be even more terrifying. Bai Junyu's eyes were filled with emotion. He finally understood Di Beichen's advice before. They must enter the city at night, otherwise they would not have time to rest for the whole night. Our luck is already good. We are currently in the periphery of the forest. If we are transmitted into the forest, the situation will be even worse, Gong Shaoqing said slowly. His eyes were filled with wisdom. Let's speed up and get to the city as soon as possible. They had just come to the small world. Even if they had already learned some news before, when they faced it personally, they would always find more problems. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the map. Our current position is not too far from the city. As long as there are no accidents, we will be able to reach the city before night. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. They continued to move forward, but their speed was slightly faster than before. While Bailey Hongzhuang and others were rushing, the cultivators scattered in various parts of the small world were also rushing to the city, hoping to reach it as fast as possible. At the same time, Tiangangzong's Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng also bid farewell to Di Beichen. Di Beichen, we will take our leave. Cui Haoyan cupped his fists. Di Beichen looked at Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng. I will let Heimu escort you back. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan waved his hand. No need. The two of us can also gain experience on the road. There is no need to trouble yourself. Chapter 1222. Seeing that Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng's attitude was very resolute, Di Beichen no longer insisted. In that case, I'll let Heimu send you out of Tianggang sect. The area of Tianggang sect was relatively hidden. Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng had only been here once, and perhaps they didn't know enough. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng looked at each other and nodded. Okay. Thank you. We're all friends, no need to thank me. Di Beichen smiled. With just a look, Heimu immediately walked in front of Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng. Mr. Cui, Miss Zhang, I'll send you out. Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng nodded slightly and bowed to Di Beichen before following Heimu down the mountain. After leaving Tianggang sect this time, they didn't know if they would have a chance to come again in the future. Both of them sighed in their hearts. It was a big regret for them to miss this opportunity. However, for this regret, their mood was also very complicated. If they could come out of the small world, it would naturally be excellent. However, they also understood the extremely high mortality rate of the small world, and a little carelessness could cause them to lose their lives there. None of them could afford such a result. When they were in the assessment array, they had already experienced the feeling of death once, and that feeling was really terrifying. Speaking of which, they were not as confident as Bailey Hongzhuang, who believed that they would be able to come out of the small world. On the contrary, in the face of the endless excellent cultivators, they were somewhat inferior. When they thought that Xia Jiqing and the others had persisted for 3 incense sticks of time, and they only persisted for 1 or 2 incense sticks of time, this already proved a lot of problems. Perhaps this was the difference in choice. After Cui Haoyan and Zhang Yunfeng left, Di Beichen returned to his palace. However, when he returned to the palace, he found that Si Tuyen was already waiting for him. Master. Di Beichen respectfully bowed. For him, the most qualified person in the world was Si Tuyen. A kind smile appeared on Si Tuyen's face. Those 2 little guys have left? Di Beichen nodded slightly. He has already left. Those 2 little fellows are not suitable for the competition. Not participating is the right decision, Si Tuyen said slowly. His old and sharp eyes flickered with wisdom. With Cui Haoyan's strength, he should be able to participate in the assessment. Di Beichen sighed. Zhang Yunfeng's strength was slightly lacking, but Cui Haoyan's strength was not a problem. Who would have thought that Cui Haoyan would fail? This was a problem with his willpower. The cultivation talent of these 2 little fellows is not bad, but their willpower is not firm enough. If they go to the small world, it is very likely that they will lose their lives. This outcome is best for them. Si Tuyen's smile was deep and kind. Every cultivator had different choices. There was no right or wrong in this, as long as he didn't regret it. Di Beichen sighed and nodded. Indeed, everyone has different choices. Hearing this, Si Tuyen looked at Di Beichen. So are you sure about your choice? Di Beichen was stunned and looked at Si Tuyen in surprise. However, he quickly responded, yes. Are you sure that you have no feelings for Xi Ling over the years? Si Tuyen asked. I have always regarded Xi Ling as a sister. There is no love between men and women. Chapter 12:23. So, are you sure you want Bailey Hongzhuang? Si Tuyen asked again. Di Beichen nodded heavily. I'm sure. The only woman I like in my life is Hongzhuang. Si Tuyen looked deeply at Di Beichen but did not say anything. Looking at Si Tuyen's expression, Di Beichen was a little anxious. Master had never shown any objection before. Could it be that Master did not agree in his heart? Just as Di Beichen was about to speak, Si Tuyen's voice sounded. Since you've already made your choice, stick to your choice and don't hurt her. Di Beichen was stunned at first, then a happy smile appeared on his face. Master, don't worry. I'll stick to it. It's just that. Di Beichen looked a little helpless. Master, I'm afraid it's not easy to deal with the Great Elder. Xiao Hongzhen and Zhang Yi had been dealt with, but the Great Elder had stayed in Tianggang sect for a long time. Moreover, he had never had much conflict with the Great Elder. It was only because of the Han Xiling that there was a conflict between him and the Great Elder. Moreover, from the Great Elder's point of view, this was not difficult to understand. Never force your feelings for some other reasons. Other problems will be solved sooner or later, but once you miss it, it can't be made up. Si Tuyen turned around and left after leaving a sentence, but his back looked a little lonely. Looking at Si Tuyen who left, Di Beichen's eyes were filled with a faint light. He only felt that his master was very emotional when he said this sentence. Thinking about it, there must be a story about his master. Otherwise, his master would not have said such a thing. Thinking of this, Di Beichen suddenly remembered that he had occasionally seen his master's lonely look over the years. Speaking of which, he had never seen any woman appear by his master's side as long as he could remember. With his master's excellence, it was impossible for there not to be a woman who liked him, but his master had never been interested. Now that he thought about it, there should have been someone living in his master's heart. It was just that he didn't know about it. Thinking of this, Di Beichen was even more curious. What had happened to his master in the past? What kind of woman could make his master so lonely? Di Beichen pondered for a moment. He felt that he had to find an opportunity to find out more. All these years, his master had never mentioned this matter, but it was precisely because of this that he was even more convinced that his master had never let it go. If possible, he also hoped that he could do something for his master. The sky gradually darkened, and the small world slowly descended with the curtain of night. The originally dry and hot temperature also dropped. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were still on their way. Originally, with their speed, They should have been able to reach the city before nightfall. However, there were simply too many demonic beasts along the way. Most importantly, they had encountered a group of demonic beasts along the way. The battle had taken a long time, so they had not reached the city yet. I have now seen how terrifying the number of demonic beasts in the small world is. The reproduction rate of these demonic beasts is too scary. Xia Jiqing's face was full of depression. There were too many obstacles, one wave after another. It was simply overwhelming. Chapter 12:24. Come to think of it, the monster beast war many years ago was also extremely terrifying. Bai Junyu faintly sighed. Just by looking at the number of monster beasts he could tell. Once these monster beasts reached the outside world, it would definitely be a huge disaster. The monster beast's reproduction speed is far from what cultivators can compare to. This situation is not strange. Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent expression, her dark phoenix eyes filled with wisdom. Humans' intelligence was higher than monster beasts, but their reproduction speed could not be compared. It was precisely because of this that humans and cultivators had always maintained a state of balance. Our task in these 2 years can be described as difficult. I'm afraid that from here to the center of the small world, there will be many monster beasts. Bai Junyu sighed. Dongfangyu chuckled. Now every monster beast killed means more points. At that time it won't be monster beasts attacking us, but us looking for monster beasts. Their purpose of entering the small world was to kill monster beasts. Having monster beasts appear in front of them was definitely a good thing, not a bad thing. Gong Shaoqing nodded slightly. We can be considered to be earning points while eliminating hidden dangers in the Shangxian continent. Hearing this, everyone's faces were filled with smiles. In the following days they would have to face monster beasts every day. Roar, roar. The sounds of monster beasts rose and fell one after another. In this silent night it was unusually clear, making people shudder. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sped up. The monster beast's vision at night was more sensitive than theirs. With their current strength they could not stay too long in the night. Otherwise, if they encountered a wave of monster beasts it would be really troublesome. After walking for a while, Xia Jiqing's joyful voice sounded. Look, the city is in front. With Xia Jiqing's voice falling, everyone looked forward. The outline of the city had already appeared. This city was larger than everyone had imagined, especially the city walls. They were higher than any city walls they had seen before. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart was filled with joy. Immediately, the speed of their feet increased a bit. Fortunately, although they could hear monster beasts along the way, there were no monster beasts attacking them. With everyone moving at full speed, they finally arrived at the city. The moment they entered the city, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. This wall is really high. It's the first time I've seen such a high wall. It's really shocking, Xia Jiqing said with emotion. Dongfangyu's face rippled with a smile like a spring breeze. There are so many demonic beasts in this small world. If the city walls aren't high enough and sturdy enough, the danger will increase by a lot. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly and thought about it carefully. She also understood this point. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the city's environment. The buildings here were built very simply. They couldn't be said to be very luxurious, but there was a trace of magnificence in the simplicity, which was shocking. This city is so empty. Are there no other cultivators here other than us? Bai Junyu furrowed his brows in confusion. Although the cultivators from each dynasty were scattered all over the place, this city shouldn't have only one group of cultivators. Chapter 12:25. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher swaggered in front. There were no other cultivators in this huge city, and it felt very good. Maybe we just arrived early, and the other cultivators haven't arrived yet. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. The cultivators of each dynasty were randomly teleported, and maybe they were further away than them. After all, no matter which city it was, there would always be a team that arrived first. In fact, the location they were teleported to today was not far from the city, but they still couldn't arrive before dark. Thinking about it, the other cultivator situation would not be much better than theirs. This is also possible. Xia Jiqing nodded. Then let's just find a house to stay in? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and agreed. Suddenly, the 5 of them randomly found 5 connected houses to stay in. They would rest tonight, and they would continue tomorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the house. Everything in the house was very simple, and even the bed was a stone bed. However, it was also because of this arrangement that it could be maintained for so many years. Otherwise, these things would have been broken long ago. Bailey Hongzhuang took out the dry food. They had been on the road today and hadn't eaten since noon. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang take out the dry food, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with excitement, and they immediately went to Bailey Hongzhuang. They were also hungry. In contrast, Baishir was lazily lying on the stone bed. Today, the eyes of the monsters that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others killed all went into his stomach, and he was very full. Even when he went to the Luoyun Mountains, he didn't eat so many monster crystals in a day. Now he only felt that the small world was a big blessing for him, and so many monster crystals could help him improve his cultivation again. After all, his master was already at the Orange Realm, and he was still at the Red Realm. This strength was not enough. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were very strong and he was a beast king. If he was too weak, it would be too embarrassing. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eager little eyes, and the smile in her eyes deepened. These two little guys were really foodies. Speaking of which, Di Beichen and He Mu knew these three foodies very well. Therefore, when she came to the small world this time, Di Beichen prepared the most dry food for her. Otherwise, with these three foodies by her side, she was afraid that before the end of the 2 years, the dry food would be gone. She took out the food in front of Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately took the food and ate happily. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. After eating the food, she went into cultivation mode. The 2 years in the small world was a good opportunity to improve her strength. In order to save her parents after leaving the small world, she had to make full use of every second and could not relax. Moreover, she had not met any other cultivators yet, so it was the easiest time. The outstanding cultivators of the various forces and dynasties must be very strong. She had to improve her strength to be more confident. It wasn't easy to stay in the small world for 2 years. Strength was the foundation of survival. Chapter 12:26. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had begun to cultivate, the three beasts also began to cultivate after finishing their food. They already knew about Bailey Hongzhuang's background. When their master was increasing her power, they naturally could not fall behind. As their master's contracted beasts, their job was to help their master complete everything she wanted to do. They wanted to help their master get rid of those bad guys. The house quickly fell into silence. Other than the sound of light breathing, there was no other sound. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, the situation in the other 4 houses was the same. Obtaining a place to participate in the assessment competition was never the completion of a task. It was the starting point of everything. None of them had time to waste. Only by increasing their power could they successfully enter the sect. Furthermore, the existence of a genius like Bailey Hongzhuang gave them a lot of pressure. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang's power was not much different from theirs. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was now at the Orange Realm while they were still at the Red Realm. The gap between them wasn't small at all. If they continued to be lazy, the gap would continue to widen. This was not something they wanted to see. The next day, when the sky had just brightened, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest got up and gathered outside the house. Now they had to rush back to the city before nightfall. As such, they did not have much time left. Hence, they had to set off earlier. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest walked out of the house, they noticed a few other teams in the city. As expected, they were only the first team to reach the city. Seeing that there were other cultivators, everyone relaxed a little. This at least proved that there were still quite a number of cultivators who came to the small world. What are your plans for today? Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze swept across everyone. For the next 2 years, they would be staying in the small world. No matter what, they would need to discuss it together. Now we have 2 choices. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes rippled with the light of thinking. His unchanging iceberg face was still cold, but compared to when he first met Bailey Hongzhuang, his temperature had undoubtedly increased a lot. First, we can continue to live in this city. We can hunt demonic beasts during the day and come back before dark. Secondly, we can head to the next city and try to reach it before nightfall. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Based on the current situation, they only had these 2 choices. Bailey Hongzhuang checked the map on the identity card, and her pretty face also flickered with a thoughtful expression. I don't care, Xia Jiqing said indifferently. In her opinion, there was not much difference between these two methods. No matter which one, she had no problem with it. Bai Junyu also did not have any objections. This kind of thing only needed everyone to decide on a direction together. In the next moment, everyone's gaze involuntarily fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was the youngest among them, Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were enough for her to be the leader. Everyone was also used to listening to her opinions. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang was now the strongest in their team. Feeling everyone's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang said, in my opinion, we should live in this city for the time being. Chapter 12:27. We might as well stay here first and go out to hunt monsters during the day. The number of monsters around here is also not small. After we have a better understanding of the monsters in this small world, it won't be too late for us to set off for the next city. After speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Gong Xiaoqing and the others, wanting to know everyone's thoughts. Xia Jiqing was the first to nod. I agree. If we go to the next city, we can set off a little earlier. After all, we don't know what problems might arise on the way. Bai Junyu followed. I also agree. Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu looked at each other and nodded in agreement. In that case, let's decide, Gong Xiaoqing said. After making the decision, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other four walked out of the city. Hunting monsters was their most important task now. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others went out to hunt monsters, they found that many teams had the same idea as them. However, even though everyone had the same idea, there was no communication between the various teams. In fact, from the moment they entered the small world, they were already competitors. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked into the forest, they could hear the roars of monsters from time to time, as well as the monsters that attacked them from time to time. However, everyone's state today was obviously different from yesterday. Wherever there were monsters, they would appear there. With the increase in the number of monsters killed, the tacit understanding between everyone's fighting had improved a lot. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Baisher were also not idle. When monsters appeared, they would also fight. After Xiao He, Xiao Bao and Baisher showed their strength. Everyone knew that the strength of these three beasts was not simple. As a result, they had three strong teammates, which was no different from the team's combat effectiveness increasing a lot. With the three beasts attacking, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised to find that the points obtained by the three beasts from killing monsters were all counted to her. After knowing this, Gong Xiaoqing and the others also had a surprised look on their faces. The contract beast's points should be counted towards the master. Dong Fangyu slowly said, I just didn't expect that the points of these three contracted beasts would all be counted towards you. This is very mysterious. Contracted beasts were known throughout the entire Shangxian continent. Once a cultivator formed a contract with a contracted beast, they would be considered a single entity. Therefore, when calculating points, the points gained by the contracted beast would also be counted as the points gained by the master. This was a very normal thing. However, under normal circumstances, each cultivator could only have one contracted beast. Logically speaking, this identity card should only calculate the points of one contracted beast. He didn't expect that the identity card would calculate the points of all three beasts. In that case, the setting of the identity card also recognized how many contracted beasts a cultivator had. Yeah, Xia Jiqing's face was filled with amazement. Hongzhuang, you are really amazing. With three helpers, your points will definitely be higher than many cultivators. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, everyone nodded. The three beasts' combat effectiveness was not bad. As a result, it was equivalent to 4 people earning points together. The number of points Hongzhuang's points could be imagined. Chapter 12:28. After the three beasts heard the news, their eyes were filled with pride. As their master's contract beasts, they could help their master a lot. For a while, Bai Junyu and the others couldn't help but feel envious. Hongzhuang had 3 contract beasts. In this point, many cultivators simply couldn't compare. It would be great if I could have a contract beast too. Xia Jiqing sighed faintly. She looked at Hongzhuang having 3 contract beasts and her heart was really envious. If she could also have a cute contract beast by her side, how good would that be? It was just that it was too difficult to get a contract beast. In the entire Shangxian continent, there were very few cultivators who could get a contract beast, and they were all cultivators with good family backgrounds. It was impossible for ordinary people to get a contract beast. As for a cultivator like Hong Zhuang who had contracted 3 beasts, there was probably no one else who could do that other than her. The faces of Gong Shaoqing and the others also changed a bit. If they could, they also hoped that they could get a contract beast. It was just that they really didn't agree. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. There are so many monsters in this small world. Maybe you can find your own contract beast. No, even if we find a newborn monster, we can't seal it into a monster egg. Dongfang Yu shook his head slightly. It was very difficult to find a newborn monster, let alone seal it into a monster egg. Sealing a monster egg was not something that ordinary people could do. It was something that only some big forces could do. Looking at the helpless look on everyone's face, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. I will seal the monster egg. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, everyone was stunned for a moment. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise, their eyes filled with disbelief. Hongzhuang, what did you say? Xia Jiqing asked in astonishment. I said I will seal the monster egg. Bailey Hongzhuang repeated what she had said. Sealing demonic beasts was indeed a rather complicated process, but she had learned it from the old fellows in her family. Speaking of which, those old guys in the family knew everything, so she had learned a lot from them. However, Xia Jiqing and the others still looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze. This was too incredible. One must know that nowadays there were fewer and fewer cultivators who had contracted monsters. Part of the reason was that there were fewer and fewer cultivators who had the ability to seal monsters. In their situation, they didn't dare to have their own contract beasts, but Hongzhuang actually told them that she could contract them. How was this possible? Such a complicated and mysterious inheritance. Hongzhuang actually knew it? Hongzhuang, are you telling the truth? At this moment, Dongfang Yu couldn't help but ask again, because this answer had really brought them too much shock with it. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled gracefully. Why would I lie to you about this kind of thing? I really do. Hearing this, everyone didn't know what expression they had. Hongzhuang, don't you think you know too many things? Xia Jiqing sighed helplessly. In my opinion, I shouldn't ask you what you know, but what you don't know. They were all humans, but the gap between them was too big, right? Chapter 1230. In fact, it wasn't just Liang Xinghui. Many cultivators present had noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's outstanding appearance. Among cultivators, women were at a disadvantage. Among the cultivators who were able to participate in the assessment competition, women were already in the minority. A peerless beauty like Bailey Hongzhuang was 1 in a million. Brother Liang, have you taken a fancy to that lady? Beside Liang Xinghui, a man in a gray robe with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks came forward. His eyes were filled with lust. Liang Xinghui glanced indifferently at the man in gray robe. Zhu Cheng, what do you think? Hearing Liang Xinghui's reply, the smile in Zhu Cheng's eyes deepened. Since Liang Xinghui said so, it proved that his guess was correct. As long as Brother Liang takes a fancy to her, isn't it just a matter of saying a word? Zhu Cheng smiled proudly. It's her fortune to be able to catch Brother Liang's fancy. The smile on Liang Xinghui's lips deepened, and there was a hint of desire in his eyes as he looked at the white figure. No man would be willing to let such a woman slip through their fingers. At this moment, another woman walked in front of Liang Xinghui. Her face faintly revealed some displeasure and dissatisfaction. Brother Liang, the cultivators who are able to participate in the assessment competition are all quite strong. I can see that the woman's temperament is extraordinary. It's best not to provoke her to avoid causing trouble. Liang Xinghui and Zhu Cheng couldn't help but glance at the woman. Zhu Cheng spoke first. Xiangwen, what does this have to do with you? This team only has 5 cultivators. It's obvious that they're from an ordinary dynasty. With our strength, dealing with them won't be a problem at all. If you're even afraid of cultivators from an ordinary dynasty, then why are you participating in the assessment competition? You might as well go back and stay. Following Zhu Cheng's words, A trace of anger appeared on Xiang Wen's face. Zhu Cheng, what do you mean by that? Xiang Wen's gaze was fixed on Zhu Cheng. We participate in the assessment competition to be able to enter a sect and also to win glory for the country. Why do we have to provoke such unnecessary trouble? Isn't this a waste of time? Seeing Xiang Wen's unyielding manner, Zhu Cheng was also dissatisfied. How is this a waste of time? That girl is someone that Brother Liang has taken a fancy to. As he spoke, Zhu Cheng sized up Xiang Wen with a look of ridicule in his eyes. Xiang Wen, I know you like both of them, but why don't you take a look at your beauty? Why would Brother Liang like you? In my opinion, you should give up. Don't do such meaningless things. As soon as these words came out, Xiang Wen's voice became sluggish, and her fair face instantly became extremely ugly. She couldn't help but look at Liang Xinghui with a hint of indignation. Liang Xinghui glanced at Xiang Wen and Zhu Cheng and said, "Stop arguing." After Liang Xinghui spoke, Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wen both stopped talking. "Xiang Wen, you don't have to care about this matter." Hearing this, Xiang Wen angrily looked at Zhu Cheng. She did like Liang Xinghui, but she also knew that Liang Xinghui didn't like her. However, Zhu Cheng directly said all this, making her completely lose face. Zhu Cheng glanced at Xiang Wen complacently, then moved closer to Liang Xinghui's side. "Brother Liang, what do you think?" Liang Xinghui smiled indifferently. "Don't you already know?" Chapter 1231. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly walked towards the inner part of the city. After a day of rushing, they were a little tired and just wanted to find a house to rest. The weather in this small world is really hot. After a day of sweating, I have to go and freshen up. Xia Jiqing couldn't stand the dirty clothes anymore. She just wanted to change into a fresh set of clothes to rest. Looking at Xia Jiqing's unbearable appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all had a smile on their faces. The weather in this small world is indeed like this. Perhaps it is because the sun is strong enough that the plants here can grow so well. Dong Fengyu's face was filled with a spring breeze smile. Compared to Xia Jiqing, his heart was naturally cool. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were looking for a place to stay, a group of people blocked their way. "Miss is so beautiful. How about being my woman?" Liang Xinghui looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him. The closer he got, the more he found Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty. When he looked at her from a distance, it was already very shocking. Now that he was so close, he still couldn't see the slightest flaw on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. It could be seen that this woman was a natural beauty. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others who were originally in a good mood, after seeing the sudden appearance of this tiger, their original smile suddenly disappeared and was replaced by unspeakable disgust. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the man in front of her. The man was wearing a black brocade robe. Just from the material of the silk, it could be seen that this man's family was not ordinary. The man's appearance could only be regarded as ordinary, but the strong self-confidence in his eyebrows added a bit of color. Even so, after hearing the man's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's dark phoenix eyes also showed a look of disgust. As soon as he opened his mouth, it could be seen that this man was a playboy. A good dog doesn't block the way. Her red lips slightly opened. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head and looked coldly at Liang Xinghui. Ever since they came to the small world, they had been fighting with demonic beasts for a month and had not had any conflicts with cultivators. However, this did not mean that they were afraid of causing trouble. With Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the expressions of Liang Xinghui and the others changed. They never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would say something so powerful. Xia Jiqing and the others couldn't help but chuckle. Nowadays, Hongzhuang's words were getting shorter and shorter. In fact, such an arrogant person who asked to be his woman the moment he opened his mouth should be treated with such an attitude. Moreover, based on the way the man brought a group of cultivators over, it was obvious that they were not here to negotiate. They were here to kidnap the woman. When the surrounding cultivators saw the conflict between the two teams, they all looked at the scene with interest. In this small world, other than their respective teams, they did not have any friends they were familiar with. It was undoubtedly a very boring life. Therefore, once there was a good show to watch, they would never miss it. The leading woman in white is so beautiful. No wonder Liang Xinghui would stop her halfway. However, looking at the situation, that woman is not a good person. At this moment, it seems that there will be a good show to watch. Chapter 1232. Bailey Hongzhuang's team only had 5 cultivators while Liang Xinghui's team had 8 cultivators. Just this point alone was enough to determine the difference in strength between them. When the assessment competition was selecting cultivators, each empire would have a different number of people. The most ordinary empires would only have 5 spots, while the stronger empires would have 8 spots. If it was some powerful empires, they would have a total of 12 spots. As for the spots that some sects or powerful forces had, there was really no upper limit. Therefore, in this small world, everyone would usually judge the strength of their opponents based on the number of people. The more people there were, the more powerful the opponent was. After all, the larger the empire, the more outstanding cultivators there would be. Cultivators who had a spot were definitely powerful. At this moment, it could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang's team was from a small empire, while Liang Xinghui's team was from a medium empire. Under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang's team was definitely at a disadvantage. Liang Xinghui's team obviously did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to say such a thing, and could not help but be stunned for a moment. Zhu Cheng immediately stood up and said, "Miss, it's your fortune that the two of them have taken a liking to you. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, "I don't need such fortune." In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang ignored Liang Xinghui's team and immediately walked forward. Liang Xinghui's eyes flashed with displeasure when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang completely ignoring him. Until now, no one had dared to treat him with such an attitude. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang walked past him, Liang Xinghui immediately grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand and swatted Liang Xinghui's hand away. Instantly, her gaze towards Liang Xinghui was filled with fury and coldness. "What are you doing?" Dongfang Yu had already blocked in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. His pair of peach blossom eyes were filled with anger. This guy actually dared to act so rudely towards Hongzhuang. Looking at the indignant Dongfang Yu, Liang Xinghui sized him up and chuckled. "So there's a Xiaobai face acting as a flower protector." As soon as these words came out, the faces of Xia Jiqing and the others flashed with a strong anger. This guy who came out of nowhere had actually been looking for trouble with them. It was really hateful. "What are you? Your words are so unpleasant." Xia Jiqing looked at Liang Xinghui with disgust. This guy's appearance made people extremely unhappy. However, Liang Xinghui simply ignored Xia Jiqing and looked directly at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Do you want to be my woman? In your dreams." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Liang Xinghui with an indifferent expression, rejecting him without leaving any room for negotiation. Where did this guy come from? He looks like he's asking for a beating. Xiao He couldn't help but say. Xiao Bai looked at Liang Xinghui with dissatisfaction, looking a bit speechless. This guy doesn't even look in the mirror. How can he be worthy of master? Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Liang Xinghui was not angry. He just sneered, "If you don't agree, then your friends will suffer." Chapter 1233. Xia Jiqing and the others looked at Liang Xinghui's reaction, and the anger in their eyes gradually deepened. This group of people wanted to bully them with their numbers. The onlooking cultivators were not surprised after seeing this scene. In fact, this ending was the result they had expected. The appearance of this woman in white is really 1 in a million. I didn't expect Liang Xinghui to take advantage of her. I saw that this woman in white had an extraordinary temperament and felt that she wasn't from an ordinary family. I didn't expect her to be from a small dynasty. If I had known earlier, I would have taken the lead. As soon as these words came out, everyone had the same feeling. As a man, there were few who wouldn't be tempted in the face of such a woman. It's not too late now. As long as you can beat Liang Xinghui, then this woman is yours. The ridicule of the surrounding cultivators also passed into the ears of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, which made Dongfang Yu and the others even angrier. It was as if these people were treating them as powerless cultivators, as if they were mere objects. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips suddenly evoked an enchanting smile, and her eyes looked at Liang Xinghui faintly. Are you sure you want to do it?" Liang Xinghui, who was already fascinated by Bailey Hongzhuang, saw Bailey Hongzhuang smile and felt like thousands of flowers had bloomed, and his eyes lit up. As long as you are my woman, I won't dare not to do anything. I will also protect you. How about it? Liang Xinghui's face was filled with a proud smile. In his view, Bailey Hongzhuang's words were obviously showing weakness. This kind of ending was what he wanted the most. However, just after Liang Xinghui said this sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang directly greeted him with a fist. Bang! Gotcha! Everyone only heard the sound of bones breaking, and then they saw Liang Xinghui covering his nose as blood overflowed from between his fingers. Under this severe pain, Liang Xinghui couldn't help but bend his body. His painful appearance made tears flow out uncontrollably. Zhu Cheng and the others were completely dumbfounded when they saw this sudden turn of events. No one expected Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly make a move, giving them no time to react. This was simply playing cards that were out of the ordinary. Do you want to die? Xiang Wen was the first to stand up. Although she was happy for Liang Xinghui to provoke Bailey Hongzhuang directly broke Liang Xinghui's nose. This was something she couldn't tolerate. Compared with the anger of Xiang Wen and the others, Xia Jiqing and the others had a smile on their faces. Hongzhuang's punch was really too satisfying. Zhu Cheng stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and took out his weapon. His ferocious appearance was full of vigor. However, facing the attitude of Zhu Cheng and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression remained calm. Cut the crap. If you want to make a move, then make a move. We don't have time to waste here with you. The cold words came out of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth without any warmth. There were many cultivators in Xingyi City. If they didn't show their strength now, there would be a lot of trouble later. Since Liang Xinghui and the others took the initiative to find trouble, she didn't mind cleaning them up. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, Xia Jiqing and the others also took out their weapons. So what if the other party had more people? They weren't scared of anything. Chapter 1234. Anyone who saw the situation in front of them would know that the five of them had no chance of winning. What Zhu Cheng and the others could not understand was that the five of them dared to provoke them. This was really a case of newborn calves not being afraid of tigers. Xiang Wen looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. From the moment she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she disliked her from the bottom of her heart. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang dared to take the initiative to attack them, she would directly kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at the sudden change in the situation, the onlooking cultivators were also surprised. I didn't expect the woman in white to be so hot. Her attack was so fierce, completely unexpected. I'm afraid things can't be settled peacefully now. A battle is inevitable. I don't know how strong this team is. If they don't have enough strength to provoke Liang Xinghui, they are really digging their own graves. Everyone was speechless. Liang Xinghui had stayed in Xingyi City for a while, so they had a certain understanding of Liang Xinghui's strength. They were not weak, and the teams of ordinary small empires were definitely not their opponents. It was precisely because of this that everyone was not willing to be enemies with Liang Xinghui and the others. After all, there was no need to offend a strong enemy. Now it could only be said that the woman in white and the others were unlucky. Who asked Liang Xinghui to take a fancy to her? Liang Xinghui endured the severe pain and raised his head. The anger in his eyes was almost spewing out. He had never been treated like this in public until now. What's more, the bridge of his nose was broken. Kill them for me. Liang Xinghui shouted angrily, but mixed with blood. His words were a little slurred. This woman, capture her alive. Liang Xinghui looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman dared to treat him like this. He would definitely let this woman taste the pain. As Liang Xinghui's words came out, the primary energy in Zhu Cheng and the others burst out in an instant. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood the strength of the other party. One of them was at the 8th level of the Red Realm, 2 of them were at the 6th level of the Red Realm, 3 of them were at the 4th level of the Red Realm, and 2 of them were at the 3rd level of the Red Realm. This kind of strength was indeed not bad among the cultivators. Liang Xinghui did not make a move. In his opinion, there was no need for him to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at everyone. Speaking of which, the disparity in strength between the two teams was indeed quite large. In their team Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu were both at the 5th level of the Red Realm, while Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu were at the 4th level of the Red Realm. Speaking of which, Gong Xiaoqing and the others' progress was not slow. When they participated in the interschool competition, Gong Xiaoqing had just broken through to the Red Realm, and the others had not yet broken through. Now that more than half a year had passed, their progress was not small. Especially Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu, the progress of the two could be said to be the fastest. However, after the assessment, the cultivators they came into contact with were all genius cultivators from various places. As a result, the gap between them widened. When Zhu Cheng and the others released their auras, Xia Jiqing and the others also released their auras. After understanding the strength of Xia Jiqing and the others, Zhu Cheng and the others' faces showed a disdainful smile. Haha, 2 of you are at the 5th level of the Red Realm, and 2 of you are at the 4th level of the Red Realm. With such strength you dare to fight us? I think you are really looking for death. Chapter 1235. Listening to Zhu Cheng's disdainful words, the faces of Gong Xiaoqing and others were a little ugly. After a month of understanding, they found that their strength was not weak in a small dynasty, but in the face of a medium-sized dynasty, the gap was obvious. The reason why they were able to pass the assessment of Tiangang sect was entirely because of their will to fight. In this situation, they were simply embarrassed to say that they were representing Tiangang sect to participate in the assessment competition. It was precisely because of this that when all the cultivators mistakenly thought that they were from a small dynasty, they did not make a sound. In their view, with their current strength, they could only claim to be from a small dynasty, so as not to damage the image of Tiangang sect. Of course, except for Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned coldly, and her eyes were stained with a layer of sullen color. She said coldly, "If you have the ability, try it." Zhu Cheng and others smiled at each other, and did not take Bailey Hongzhuang's words to heart. They picked up their weapons and rushed to Bailey Hongzhuang and others. "Remember Brother Liang's words, that woman must be captured alive," Zhu Cheng said. Everyone nodded, and the weapons in their hands attacked without hesitation. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu suddenly rushed to the 2/3 stage Red Realm cultivators, while Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu met the 3/4 stage Red Realm cultivators. In the current situation they wanted to end the battle quickly, and this was the best way. Zhu Cheng and others also knew the plan of Xia Jiqing and others, but they did not take it to heart. After all, there was still 1/8 stage Red Realm and 2/6 stage Red Realm cultivators who were not useless. In this battle, no matter from which point of view, they were winning. Because this was simply a battle that could not be compared at all. The battle broke out in an instant. Yuanli broke out, and the sound of weapons clashing quickly came out. Zhu Cheng, who was at the 6th stage Red Realm, and Xiang Wan, who was also at the 6th stage Red Realm, attacked Bailey Hongzhuang together. It was the most troublesome to capture her alive. Looking at Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wan who intended to capture her alive, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a sneer. With a shift of his mind, origin force surged out of his body. His orange-level aura enveloped Zhu Cheng and the other man. Feeling the sudden pressure, Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wan were both stunned. Under such pressure, their speed and fighting strength were suppressed. The sudden emergence of the Orange Realm pressure made all the cultivators present stunned for a moment. They turned their eyes and found that the pressure was actually released by Bailey Hongzhuang. For a moment, everyone was completely dumbfounded. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be a cultivator in the Orange Realm? The gap was too big. The smile on Zhu Cheng's face instantly froze. He and Xiang Wan looked at each other, and then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. How is this possible? Zhu Cheng cried out in astonishment. This was too inconceivable. It was just a small empire. How could there be an orange-level cultivator? This was too heaven-defying. How can you be an orange-level cultivator? Xiang Wan couldn't believe what she was seeing. It was too hard to believe. Liang Xinghui was also dumbfounded at this moment. He never thought that the woman he had his eyes on was an orange-level cultivator. Even with his cultivation level, he was no match for Bailey Hongzhuang. The odds of winning seemed to have changed at this moment. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's team was not as large as theirs, and the strength of the cultivators was not as strong as theirs. Chapter 1236. Oh my God, I didn't expect this woman in white to be so powerful. It's unbelievable that she came from a small empire. I told you that this woman has an extraordinary appearance and temperament. She doesn't look like an ordinary person, right? As soon as this remark was made, everyone nodded in agreement. Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament was indeed not like an ordinary person. However, the number of people indicated that she came from a small empire. It was really difficult to judge. While Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wen were surprised, Bailey Hongzhuang did not give them any time to be stunned. Since they were opponents, there was no need to be polite. Bailey Hongzhuang's mind moved and she immediately used fulgurating shadows. A white wind flashed between the crowd and her speed was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wen only felt a chill run down their spines and their bodies could not help but tremble. Even though they had already tensed up, they still could not avoid Bailey Hongzhuang's attack. By the time they reacted, Bailey Hongzhuang's palm had already landed on their bodies. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang's two palms landed on their bodies in succession. The two of them seemed to have been hit by a heavy blow, their bodies exploding like cannonballs, slamming into the wall in the distance before stopping. However, the two of them fell heavily on the ground along the wall. They suddenly felt a metallic taste in their mouths and a mouthful of blood spurted out uncontrollably. Puffed! Fresh blood dyed the ground red, and the auras of the two people instantly withered. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang seriously injured the two of them, everyone sighed in their hearts. This was the strength of an Orange Realm cultivator. Zhu Cheng and Xiang Wen, who were at level 6 of the Red Realm, had no ability to fight back in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang directly attacked the cultivator at level 8 of the Red Realm. At the same time, Baisher also rushed to Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu's side. It was also at level 5 of the Red Realm. When the Saming cultivators who were fighting with Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu saw the sudden appearance of Baisher, one of them could not help but attack Baisher. Since Baisher was Bailey Hongzhuang's contract beast, Bailey Hongzhuang also felt sorry for Baisher. Based on the current situation, they were no match for Bailey Hongzhuang. If they wanted to escape, capturing this little guy was a good choice. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang did not agree to let them go, he would kill Baisher. At the thought of this, the man was pleased with himself and immediately attacked Baisher. In his opinion, this little guy had no combat power at all. The other two cultivators were overjoyed when they saw the man's actions. This was a chance for them to turn the tables. No matter what, they had to grab hold of it. For a moment, the two cultivators attacked Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu in a frenzy. They didn't want to give them the chance to help Baisher. However, Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu were not nervous at all after seeing this scene. Baisher's strength was not weaker than theirs. They thought that these guys would soon regret their actions after knowing Baisher's strength. The surrounding cultivators also felt that this man had made the right decision. They could not help but feel that Liang Xinghui and the others were really lucky. However, in the next moment, all the cultivators present widened their eyes. Hiss! Chapter 1237. In front of everyone's astonished eyes, Baisher leaped and directly bit off the man's neck. The man's eyes widened. He didn't even have time to scream before he fell to the ground. Baisher didn't know what it meant to be shy. In its eyes, as long as it was an opponent, it would bite them to death. Time seemed to have stagnated for a moment. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze and couldn't recover from the previous situation. Gulp! It was unknown who swallowed a mouthful of saliva, but everyone did the same thing. When they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others again, everyone had completely restrained their previous contemptuous attitude. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked inconspicuous, but not only did they have an Orange Realm cultivator, they even had a very powerful monster. Everyone looked at the snow-white Baisher, and then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang who was wearing a white robe. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Like master, like monster. These two guys were pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. He looked harmless to humans and animals, but his attack was so powerful. Liang Xinghui and his group could be considered to have 8 lifetimes of bad luck this time. Liang Xinghui couldn't care less about the pain of his broken nose at this moment. He really couldn't believe that the victory that he thought was in his grasp would be defeated in such a short time. The 2 cultivators who originally thought that the dead cultivator was extremely smart also widened their eyes at this moment. An unspeakable fear spread in their hearts. The strength of the other party was simply beyond them. Xia Jiqing and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher were so domineering, and their morale was suddenly boosted. The speed of their attacks was also getting faster and faster. For a while, Liang Xinghui and the others were completely defeated. Under the double blow of strength and influence, they simply didn't even have the thought of continuing to fight. Everyone couldn't help but look at Liang Xinghui. In the current situation, if they continued to fight, they would only be wiped out. If they begged for mercy, there might be a glimmer of hope. Feeling everyone's gaze, Liang Xinghui also made a prompt decision and said, "Stop." As soon as these words came out, everyone stopped and looked at Liang Xinghui. At this moment, where was Liang Xinghui's previous dignified appearance? Bright red blood covered his entire face, and even his appearance couldn't be seen clearly. But at this point he couldn't care less about his image. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Liang Xinghui indifferently. She wanted to see what Liang Xinghui had to say at this moment. "Miss, I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai previously. Please be magnanimous and let us off this time," Liang Xinghui begged. Under such a great disparity in the trial, he had no other choice but to do so. Looking at this dramatic change, the onlooking cultivators sighed. They did not expect that the situation on both sides would completely change in the end. Liang Xinghui has really lost face this time. First he was so arrogant and now he's begging for mercy. What a joke. One look and you can tell that this woman isn't an ordinary person. With his looks he still wants this woman to be his woman. What a fool's dream. This is going to be interesting. I wonder if they will let Liang Xinghui and the others off. Chapter 1238. In the face of Liang Xinghui's begging for mercy, Bailey Hongzhuang was still unmoved, and her expression was indifferent. Young Master Liang was so aggressive before, and now you want me to let you go with just a few words? Isn't it too simple? Her deep black eyes flickered with a cold light. She had never been a soft-hearted person. Liang Xinghui and the others were so aggressive that she was very clear. If the winner was Liang Xinghui and the others, they would not let her go so easily. After seeing this scene, Xia Jiqing and the others slowly walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. They also wanted to see Liang Xinghui and the others begging for mercy. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, the faces of Liang Xinghui and the others could not help but turn ugly. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was not easy to deal with. Thinking of this, Liang Xinghui clenched his teeth, and his face flashed with a hint of struggle. Then, under the burning eyes of everyone, he knelt heavily on the ground. As Liang Xinghui knelt and begged for mercy, Zhu Cheng and the others also knelt down. Perhaps after this kneeling they would lose face, but if they did not do so they would not even have their lives. Between the two, they did not hesitate to choose the former. After all, their lives were the most important. "Miss, please be magnanimous and let us go," everyone said. Liang Xinghui also said, "Miss, as long as you let us go, we will never dare to have any thoughts of revenge in the future. As long as you need us, we will never dare to refuse." For a time Liang Xinghui and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with hope. Their lives were now completely in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang turned slightly and looked at Xia Jiqing and the others. She wanted to know everyone's thoughts. Xia Jiqing looked at the corpse not far away, and her eyes flashed with a trace of unbearable. She said, "Hongzhuang, let them go this time." Although she was a cultivator, she had mostly killed demonic beasts so far. She rarely killed humans. Liang Xinghui's team had a total of 8 people. She felt that it was too cruel to let all 8 of them die by their hands. Bailey Hongzhuang then looked at Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu. The two of them also nodded. Presumably, Liang Xinghui and the others would not dare to have any malicious thoughts towards them. After Liang Xinghui and the others heard Xia Jiqing's words, Their eyes flashed with a bright light. Right now, all they wanted was to survive. Bailey Hongzhuang looked deeply at Xia Jiqing and the others before nodding her head. That's good. As soon as these words were spoken, the worried hearts of Liang Xinghui and the others also relaxed, and their hearts were filled with an indescribable joy. Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and looked at Liang Xinghui and the others again. Her clear eyes were filled with indifference and indifference. This time we can spare your lives, but you have to pay a price for disturbing us. Liang Xinghui and the others who were originally happy, heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, and their hearts were once again suspended. They looked nervously at Bailey Hongzhuang, not knowing what price Bailey Hongzhuang wanted them to pay. Hand over the Qianquan bag. Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out her white palm, her face cold and ruthless. Anyone who harbored evil intentions against them would have to pay the price. Chapter 1239. However, the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. Now that all the decisions were in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they had no room to refuse. Seeing that Liang Xinghui and the others did not move, Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. It seems that you are still not aware enough. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was ready to make a move, Liang Xinghui and the others did not dare to hesitate and immediately handed the Qianquan bags to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her gaze and after glancing at the things in the Qianquan bags, she nodded. Miss, can we go now? Liang Xinghui nervously looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Today he really had 8 lifetimes of bad luck, to actually provoke such a big trouble. Now he just wanted to disappear from Bailey Hongzhuang immediately. It would be best if he never met Bailey Hongzhuang again. However, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled and said, no. Hearing this, all the cultivators present looked at Bailey Hongzhuang doubtfully. They did not know what Bailey Hongzhuang was going to do. Hand over the points too. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, the cultivators present all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. He didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang, who looked like she was above the common populace, would be so ruthless. At this time, even they could not help but sympathize with Liang Xinghui and the others. However, this group of guys also reaped what they had sown. It was already good that they could keep their lives. Zhu Cheng, Xiang Wen and the others heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words and almost blacked out. This was simply a thief who wanted to take away all the useful things from them. Xia Jiqing and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. Hongzhuang thought more than them. However, thinking about it carefully, they only felt that what Hongzhuang did was really right. They couldn't just fight for nothing. Interest was a must. In this way, everyone should know the price of offending them. Gong Xiaoqing stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. He had to admit that Bailey Hongzhuang was much more experienced than them. No matter how unwilling Liang Xinghui and the others were, they had no other choice but to hand it over obediently under such circumstances. After Liang Xinghui and the others handed over all their points, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the points. She had to admit that Liang Xinghui and the others' fighting strength was not bad. The number of points they had was not small. After handing over a few points, Liang Xinghui and the others were somewhat discouraged. They had worked hard for a month to earn so many points. In just a short while, they had completely become paupers. Miss, can we leave now? Zhu Cheng asked with a long face. He really wanted to slap himself. If he knew that this woman was so difficult to deal with, he definitely wouldn't have urged Liang Xinghui to find trouble with them. Now he had fallen into a trap. Wait. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice sounded again. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's voice, Liang Xinghui and the others really wanted to cry. They had nothing to hand over. At this moment they didn't even have food. They were completely paupers. Xia Jiqing and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang strangely. They didn't know what Bailey Hongzhuang was going to do at this time. Chapter 1240. With Bailey Hongzhuang's words falling, Liang Xinghui and the others were like they had been pardoned. They picked up their Qianquan bags, stood up and ran. The way they ran was as if they were afraid that Bailey Hongzhuang would ask them to wait. Then they would really want to die. Looking at Liang Xinghui and the others running away without any image, Xia Jiqing and the others couldn't help but laugh. Haha. You are really looking for trouble. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips had an enchanting smile. Her casual and indifferent appearance revealed a bit of unrestrained taste, but her deep black eyes still couldn't see the bottom. Her cold eyes looked around. The cultivators who had been watching immediately turned around and didn't dare to continue to look. Today, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not to be provoked in their eyes. If they provoked them, it was tantamount to asking for trouble. Seeing that everyone was so tactful, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to Xia Jiqing and the others and said, "Let's go." Xia Jiqing and the others nodded. They were very tired and then such a thing happened. They really should take a rest. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to walk forward. And Baisher once again jumped on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. That lazy and cute appearance was not fierce at all. However, now everyone no longer dared to treat Baisher as a monster without any threat. This kind of combat power was stronger than some cultivators. The surroundings were silent. Until Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked away, the crowd couldn't help but speak. I don't know which dynasty this girl is from. Looking at this team, it should be a small dynasty. How can there be an Orange Realm cultivator? It's really strange. This woman should have a good origin. That contract beast, do you know what kind of monster it is? I don't know, I have never seen this monster before. Everyone was puzzled. Contracted beasts were not something an ordinary cultivator could have. Not only did Bailey Hongzhuang have one, but the level of this demon beast was also very high. Liang Xinghui and the others quickly fled. After entering the room, they locked the door tightly. Now they had lost all their dignity and did not have the face to face the other cultivators. Brother Liang, what was in the Qiankuan bag that woman threw to us just now? Zhu Cheng's eyes flashed with a curious light. He never thought that the woman would actually give them a Qiankuan bag in the end. Liang Xinghui was also curious. He immediately opened the Qiankuan bag and saw that it was full of dried food. There was nothing else except for food. Seeing that it was full of food, Zhu Cheng couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. I didn't expect this girl to not be so bad. At least she left some food for us. We won't starve to death. Everyone sighed in their hearts. If they handed over their Qiankuan pouches, they wouldn't even have anything to eat. That was really pushing them to a dead end. Listening to Zhu Cheng's words, Liang Xinghui slapped Zhu Cheng's head directly. Now that it's like this, you still say that she is good? Zhu Cheng said with a sad face, Brother Liang, I said the wrong thing. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others went all the way forward. After finding a suitable residence, they walked into the house together. Hongzhuang, what was in the Qiankuan bag that you just gave them? Xia Jiqing asked curiously. Chapter 1241. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It's just some food inside. If we don't leave some food for them, I'm afraid they will find a chance to attack other cultivators. In fact, this was also a psychological tactic. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing also understood and immediately chuckled. Hongzhuang, you are really amazing. Although a group of trouble suddenly appeared, our harvest is not small. How about we divide these points equally? The delicate and beautiful face flashed with a charming light. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. If they relied on hunting monsters, they would have to spend some time to get these points. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and had their own thoughts. If it were not for Hongzhuang with their strength, not only would they not be able to get these points, but they would also fall into the hands of Liang Xinghui and others. These points, they were not worthy of it. Hongzhuang, you have the majority of these points, we did not contribute much. Gong Shaoqing, who had always been quiet, suddenly spoke. Hongzhuang was so generous, they could not take advantage of her. They also understood the situation between Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. Among all of them, Bailey Hongzhuang was under too much pressure. An ordinary person with no background wanted to become the wife of the young lord of Tiangang sect. The pressure she had to bear was definitely not something ordinary people could bear. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to become a woman worthy of Di Beichen, and she must pay a lot of hardships. He believed that with Bailey Hongzhuang's ability, she could be a match for him, but it would take some time. A large part of the reason why Bailey Hongzhuang participated in this assessment competition was to prove her strength to others. Therefore, this result was very important to her. On the contrary, for them, this result was equally important, but compared with Bailey Hongzhuang, it was not so urgent. With Gong Xiaoqing's voice falling, Xia Jiqing and the others also nodded. Gong Xiaoqing is right, Hongzhuang, we can't divide these points equally, Xia Jiqing said. Looking at the appearance of Gong Xiaoqing and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a strange light, but she quickly reacted and immediately said, "We are a team, this is our spoils of war. Naturally, we have to divide it equally." Dongfang Yu waved his hand and said, "Hongzhuang, in my opinion, these points should be divided according to the degree of effort." A serious look appeared on her white and delicate face. This matter can't be divided according to the degree of effort. Did you guys not do this battle? As soon as these words came out, Dongfang Yu and the others' expressions, they had indeed tried their best, but the effect was not that great. Seeing everyone's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang continued, "Since we are a team, there is no need to care about these things. No matter who is in trouble, we will do our best. That is enough. In this small, facing to they. Only in this way can they be invincible. If they did things according to Dongfang Yu's method, sooner or later, there would be problems. What's more, she really treated Dongfang Yu and the others as friends, so she didn't care about this kind of thing." Chapter 1242. At this moment, Gong Xiaoqing and the rest secretly decided that Hongzhuang's matters would be their matters in the future. They would not hesitate to go through fire and water. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know what everyone was thinking, and immediately distributed the points equally to everyone. In the small world, points could be snatched from each other. Because of this, the conflicts between cultivators were not small. After all, the points for killing a demonic beast were limited, but snatching points from cultivators was much faster. Now that they had only been in the small world for less than a month, everyone did not have many points on hand. Therefore, the competition was slightly smaller. Bailey Hongzhuang could imagine that the closer it was to the end of the assessment, the more horrifying the competition between the cultivators would be. There were almost no rules in the assessment. It was completely survival of the fittest and strength spoke. Weak cultivators did not have any right to speak here. Many cultivators from small empires were completely wiped out here, and no one pitied them. And it was precisely this kind of environment that gave people a sense of urgency. Everyone was trying their best to raise their own strength, to guard against demonic beasts, and even more so against cultivators. Under such circumstances, the trust between team members was extremely important. Only in this way would they be able to go further in the competition. After the points were distributed evenly, Bailey Hongzhuang took out the Qiankuan bag. This group of people came from a middle-sized empire. I think there should be quite a lot of things in the Qiankuan bag. Everyone, see if there is anything you need. If there is anything you need, take it and distribute it. Once the Qiankuan bag was opened, most of it was food. However, there were also many other things such as elixirs, martial skills and medicinal herbs. Seeing the elixirs and martial skills, everyone's eyes lit up. To cultivators, the most difficult things to obtain were elixirs and martial skills. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the elixirs in the Qiankuan bag. Most of them were energy recovery elixirs and healing elixirs. She had prepared quite a number of these. "Let's split these elixirs," Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Although these elixirs were prepared, energy recovery elixirs and healing elixirs were the most needed. In 2 years, everyone would have used up quite a lot. Therefore, it could be said that the more pills there were, the better. Hearing this, everyone took a few bottles each, and a joyful smile appeared on their faces. This mid-sized empire really lives up to its reputation. Everyone's pockets are full. Our harvest this time is not small. Bai Junyu's face rippled with an excited smile. These things were really the most important in the small world. Now that Liang Xinghui and the others had lost all these, they were probably extremely depressed right now. Hongzhuang is still the best. I didn't think of this before. Xia Jiqing sighed. But I will know next time. Bailey Hongzhuang took out the martial skills from her Qiankuan bag and said, "You can choose the martial skills you need." She knew that Gong Xiaoqing and the others were lacking in martial skills. Martial skills were usually sold at sky-high prices at auctions. If one did not have a certain family background, it would be extremely difficult to obtain a martial skill just by relying on one's own efforts. Gong Xiaoqing and the others were not weak, but the level of their martial skills was not high enough, so they could not fully display their strength. Chapter 1243. Liang Xinghui and the others didn't have many martial skills in their Qingkuan bags, but Gong Xiaoqing and the other three all found martial skills that were suitable for them. Everyone looked at the martial skills in their hands with joy, but found that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't choose anything. Their expressions changed a bit. Hongzhuang, why don't you want anything? Xia Jiqing couldn't help but ask. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. I have all these things. She had already looked at these martial skills. Most of them were yellow-level martial skills or even profound-level martial skills. She also had these martial skills. Instead of practicing these martial skills that she had never touched before, it was better to practice the martial skills that she had mastered in her previous life. She had enough experience, so it would be faster for her to cultivate again. What's more, although Liang Xinghui and the others came from a medium-sized dynasty, their martial skills were absolutely incomparable to the martial skills of the Bailey family. She didn't intend to neglect the essentials. In comparison, she was more interested in the medicinal herbs in the Qingkuan bag. This was because there were some medicinal herbs that were rarely seen in ordinary days. Hongzhuang, you should at least choose something that you need, right? Dongfang, you couldn't help but say. Hongzhuang was clearly the youngest among them, but now she was the most modest and mature, which made them feel ashamed. Bailey Hongzhuang originally didn't think that this situation was a big deal because she really didn't need it. However, after looking at everyone's expressions, she realized that they didn't think so. She immediately smiled and said, "How about giving these medicinal herbs to me?" Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, everyone nodded. No problem. In addition, Hongzhuang, do you need any of these martial skills? Gong Xiaoqing handed over the Qingkuan bag in his hand. He knew that Hongzhuang herself was an alchemist, and these ordinary pills were of no use to her. Seeing this, Xia Jiqing and the others also took out their own martial skills. Yes, Hongzhuang, do you need any of these martial skills? As they spoke, everyone rushed to be the first to pass the martial skill to Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing everyone like this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. I'm telling the truth. I really don't need these martial skills. I have my own martial skills. You guys can take them and cultivate at ease. Hearing this, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't look like she was faking it, everyone was relieved. After everyone left, satisfied, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. Thinking about it, everyone couldn't wait to practice their new martial skills. The level of these martial skills was higher than what everyone had cultivated before. If they could learn them, everyone's strength would increase. That would be the best. Master, are you going to let those guys off just like that? After everyone left, Xiao Hei's worried voice rang out. What they did today didn't leave any leeway for Liang Xinghui and the others, not to mention that they had snatched the Qingkuan bag in points. Needless to say, Liang Xinghui and the others must hate them to the extreme. If they tried their best to find trouble, it would also be troublesome. With a trace of seriousness in her dark eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "It's time for the black-white double demons to make a move." Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's faces suddenly showed excitement. Master, what do you want us to do? Chapter 1244. Go and see what those guys are planning to do. If they have completely cut off their evil intentions, then forget it. If they still want revenge, then cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. There was a cold and cruel light in her deep phoenix eyes. If you cut the weeds and don't eliminate the roots, they will grow again when the spring breeze blows. She had always been very clear about this truth. However, Xia Jiqing and the others were all students of the academy before, and they did not understand the real cruelty. She could not force them to accept it, and could only wait for them to truly understand it in the future. The small world had never been a peaceful place. On the contrary, it was extremely cruel here. In 2 years' time they would definitely understand. There were many things that needed to be done by oneself. Just like when she went to the Bloodland Abyss, Di Beichen was worried about her. The reason why she finally threw a Qianquan bag to Liang Xinghui and the others was to make them give up on the idea of revenge. This was a psychological tactic. At least she had not forced Liang Xinghui and the others into a dead end. Even so, she still could not guarantee that those guys would completely give up on the idea of revenge. Therefore she needed Xiao He and Xiao Bai to go and take a look. With Xiao He and Xiao Bai's ability to change their size at will, they were born to be spies. No one would find them at all. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes also lit up. It seemed that their master had the same idea as them. "Don't worry, master, leave this task to us," Xiao He and Xiao Bai said excitedly. This kind of thing could not be easier for them. Baisher blinked his big watery eyes and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, saying, "Master, I want to go too." Bailey Hongzhuang touched Baisher's little head. Without Baisher's bite today's battle would not have been over so quickly. "Baisher, your performance today is already very powerful. You don't have to go." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a charming smile. Today, Baisher's image was also well known by everyone. If he went out now, he would be immediately recognized by everyone. If some cultivators who had evil intentions towards White Lion were to see it, they would probably think of ways to capture White Lion. Bailey Hongzhuang's praise was obviously very effective on Baisher. Baisher obediently lay on Bailey Hongzhuang's lap. All right then. Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately walked out of the house. They had to understand the situation as soon as possible. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a few demon crystals and handed them to Baisher. This little guy's appetite was increasing day by day. According to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's guesses, White Lion was not far from breaking through again. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang had been feeding White Lion more and more demon crystals. Breakthroughs often required a lot of energy. Although Baisher was still very young, she believed that Baisher knew what he was doing. If Baisher's strength could increase, it would also be a good thing. After Xiao He and Xiao Bai walked out of the house, they quickly found the place where Liang Xinghui and the others were staying. Because of what had happened previously, almost all the cultivators in the city were talking about it. Many people were also paying attention to the tightly shut doors of Liang Xinghui and the others, guessing when they would come out. Therefore, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately found their destination. When Xiao He and Xiao Bai entered the house through the crack in the door, they saw Liang Xinghui and the others gathered together. Their expressions were very ugly. "You're all injured. You'd better recuperate." Chapter 1245. Everyone is laughing at us now. Won't we be embarrassing ourselves if we go out now? Xiang Wen's face was filled with dissatisfaction. She was the most unhappy among everyone. She was already dissatisfied with Liang Xinghui and Zhu Cheng's plan. Now that this had happened, it was clear that her previous judgment was right. Hearing Xiang Wen's words, Liang Xinghui and the rest's faces were extremely ugly. Speaking of which, this matter was completely caused by their evil thoughts. That woman in white has gone overboard. We must avenge her. Xiang Wen could not hide the anger on her face. She had never suffered such humiliation since she was young. When she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's high and mighty appearance, she was even more furious. She only wanted to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. Zhu Cheng's face revealed a troubled expression. That woman in white is so powerful. We're no match for her at all. I advise you to give up on this idea. Indeed, that woman in white is already merciful enough to let us go today. If we continue to cause trouble, we won't even be able to keep our lives. At least she left us some food. Compared to the other opponents, this is already very good. Everyone spoke out. At this moment, they did not even have the slightest intention of becoming enemies with Bailey Hongzhuang. Under the absolute disparity in strength, seeking revenge was simply courting death. In order to save their lives today, they did not hesitate to endure this humiliation. If they still wanted to seek revenge, there would definitely be something wrong with their brains. Seeing everyone's attitude, Xiang Wen could not help but be anxious. Why are all of you so useless? Liang Xinghui glanced at Xiang Wen and said, Since things have come to this, Xiang you don't have to say anymore. Today's matter can only be considered as my own fault. Even though my Qingkuan bag and points have been snatched away, it's still early before the assessment ends. We still have a chance. Just as everyone had said, Liang Xinghui had also given up on the idea of revenge. In the end, he was the one who had started this matter. It was already fortunate that the woman had let them go. Instead of seeking revenge, why not completely destroy the other cultivators? This way they could quickly make up for their points. Seeing that everyone had the same idea, Xiang was even more furious. However, there was nothing she could do about it. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other when they saw this scene. A sly smile appeared in their eyes. It seemed that they had overestimated the courage of Liang Xinghui and the others. Now they didn't have to worry about their revenge. Soon Xiao He and Xiao Bai returned to Bailey Hongshuang's room. Master, you can rest assured now. Liang Xinghui and the others have no intention of taking revenge, Xiao He said with a smile. Chapter 1246. Liang Xinghui and the others only felt that it was too shameful to stay in Xingyi City. So they got up and left early the next morning. They were not willing to stay in Xingyi City for even half a second. Bailey Hongshuang and the others stayed in Xingyi City for a few more days. Xia Jiqing and the other three had just obtained the martial arts technique and needed some time to cultivate. Therefore, in the past few days, Xia Jiqing and the other three all closed their doors and began their retreat. Bailey Hongshuang understood the situation and did not ask much. She also began to cultivate her martial arts technique. 5 days later, Bailey Hongshuang and the others once again set off on their journey. After leaving Xingyi City, the people walked into the forest. Killing the monsters was something they had to do. Whether it was for the Shangxian continent or for their achievements, it was also for Baisher's food. Bailey Hongshuang found that after a few days, Baisher's appetite was getting bigger and bigger. It could be seen that he was getting closer and closer to a breakthrough. Therefore, she wanted to try her best to find some higher-level monsters to feed Baisher. On this day, Bailey Hongshuang and the others walked in the dense forest. The sun shone through the gaps in the trees and faintly shone on everyone. The 5 of them held their weapons tightly. Their clothes were a bit messy and there were traces of the previous battle. After staying in the small world for a month, everyone had a strong feeling about the fighting power and speed of the monsters here. Fortunately, these monsters were trapped in the small world. The level of fighting here was completely different from the monsters in the outside world. They had to be very careful to avoid injury. The only thing to be thankful for was that so far they had not met any monsters that were too strong. However, every time they explored the forest they were still nervous. Suddenly, Baisher's eyes flashed with the light. He looked ahead with a burning gaze, as if he had seen something extraordinary. "Master, follow me," Baisher said excitedly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongshuang's eyes were filled with doubt. "Baisher, what did you find? There seems to be a treasure." With a leap, White Lion charged forward. Seeing this, Bailey Hongshuang also followed closely and said to Gong Shaoqing and the others, "Baisher seems to have found something. Let's go and take a look." Gong Shaoqing and the others immediately reacted. They immediately sped up and followed Bailey Hongshuang all the way to the front. The 3 beasties were in the front, with Bailey Hongshuang following closely behind. Xia Jiqing and the others were not too far behind. "I also feel the existence of a treasure." Blackie's eyes were filled with excitement. As a beast king, White Lion's ability to sense natural treasures was stronger than theirs. Xiao Baisher, Baisher and Baisher, Baisher and Baisher, Baisher and Baisher and Xiao Bai. It should be a medicinal herb. Bailey Hongshuang followed behind the 3 beasties. After hearing their words, her deep phoenix eyes were filled with excitement. Baisher was Baisher. A medicinal herb that could make the 3 beasts so excited was definitely not of a low level. The medicinal herbs in the small world forest were much richer than the outside world because there were too many people picking medicinal herbs in the outside world. On the contrary, there were very few medicinal herbs in the small world. Not for other reasons but because there were not many cultivators in the small world who knew about medicinal herbs. However, all the cultivators who could participate in the assessment competition were strong. Most of them put all their time into cultivation and did not pay attention to other things. Chapter 1247. In this month's time, Bailey Hongzhuang also found a lot of medicinal materials that were quite expensive on weekdays, and they were all collected by her. For her, this small world was a big treasure, and many medicinal materials were very difficult to find in the outside world. Maybe there would be some at the auction, but it would not be a simple thing to buy them. Of course, what she hoped for the most was to find medicinal materials that were useful to Di Beichen. They needed a total of 4 medicinal materials, and so far they had only found one. She only hoped to help Di Beichen solve this hidden danger as soon as possible. Only after his physique was completely changed, Di Beichen's real potential could be completely broken out, and there would be no side effects. The three beasts' vision had always been very high, and this medicinal material could make the three beasts so excited, which already proved that this medicinal material was not simple. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's speed also increased again. Although they had not met other cultivators in the forest so far today, they could not guarantee that there were no cultivators in front of them. If other cultivators were to snatch away the medicinal herbs first, then it would really be enough to make him regret. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw the three beasts and Bailey Hongzhuang's rapid speed, their yuan power surged quickly, and now they increasingly realized the importance of speed. After a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's nose also smelled a strong medicinal fragrance. Smelling this medicinal fragrance, Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that her spirit was shaken, and there was an indescribable comfort in her limbs. This fragrance, Bailey Hongzhuang murmured, she seemed to have smelled this fragrance before. In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up, and there was an indescribable excitement in her heart. Is it the blood ginseng fruit? There was a hint of sweetness in this rich fragrance, which was the unique direction of the blood ginseng fruit. She had smelled it once before, and it had been hard to forget. The blood ginseng fruit was really an extremely precious medicinal material, and it was very helpful for cultivators to improve their cultivation. However, the growth conditions of the blood ginseng fruit were very special. Most of them grew on cliffs and there were very few of them. It was impossible for ordinary people to find the blood ginseng fruit. If they could find the blood ginseng fruit in this small world, then they would be really lucky. Under the lead of the three beasts, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at their destination after running for a while. Hongzhuang, what kind of medicinal herb is this? It smells so good. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with amazement. She never knew much about medicinal herbs, but this fragrance made her feel refreshed. Even the exhaustion from the journey had been alleviated a lot. Bailey Hongzhuang smelled the medicinal fragrance but did not see the blood ginseng fruit. She immediately began to search. If my guess is correct, this should be the blood ginseng fruit. After a while, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived at the top of the mountain. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, Gong Shaoqing and the others also helped to search. Master, here it is. The voices of the three beasts immediately sounded. As beasts, they were more sensitive to medicinal herbs. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately walked to the side of the three beasts. She found that on the other side of the mountain was a cliff. In her line of sight, a short plant survived in the crevice. Although it grew between the cliffs, its tough appearance had a different kind of toughness. Chapter 1248. The blood-red blood ginseng fruit was tender and beautiful. It was transparent like a ruby, exquisite and magnificent. Just by looking at it, it gave people an indescribable shock. Xia Jiqing and the others also saw the blood ginseng fruit. They had heard of the famous blood ginseng fruit before, but they didn't expect that they would see it with their own eyes one day. It must be known that with the preciousness of the blood ginseng fruit, they usually wouldn't even have a chance to get it. However, now that the blood ginseng fruit had appeared in front of them and would soon become their possession, how could they not be excited? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the blood ginseng fruit. Obviously, this blood ginseng fruit had just matured. Precious herbs often emitted a strong fragrance when they matured. The fragrance of this blood ginseng fruit was so strong, it was obvious that it had just matured. However, Baishir had discovered this fragrance so early. It could be seen that he was sensitive to heaven and earth treasures. She hadn't known that Baisher had this ability before, but this ability was very suitable for treasure hunting. Hongzhuang, this blood ginseng fruit grows on the cliff, and the cliff is so smooth that it is very difficult to find a place to stand. How are we going to pick the blood ginseng fruit? After a short moment of excitement, Xia Jiqing frowned. Rare medicinal herbs often grew in some special places, but it was also because of special living conditions that rare medicinal herbs could grow. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, everyone recovered from their joy. The current situation was indeed very difficult. Under the cliff was a bottomless abyss. Once they fell, they would really die without a burial place. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled. She carefully looked at the situation on the cliff and said, "I'll go." "Hongzhuang, this is too dangerous," Dongfang Yu quickly said. The cliff was so smooth that even if Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than them, the danger was also great. If they were not careful, the price they would pay was not something they could accept. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a hemp rope from her Qiankuan bag and said, "Fortunately, I prepared this." Looking at the hemp rope, Dongfang Yu and the others' eyes lit up. If they had this hemp rope, this situation would undoubtedly be resolved. Hongzhuang went down. With so many people pulling the rope, even if Hongzhuang didn't grab the cliff, they could still pull Hongzhuang up. "Hongzhuang, you are really amazing. You even prepared these things," Xia Jiqing said excitedly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. She had never thought about this before. Speaking of which, this hemp rope was prepared for her by Di Beichen. Before participating in the assessment, Di Beichen had told her that there were many rare herbs in the pocket world. Because it grew under dense essence energy all year round, the medicinal effects would be reduced. Even the time it took to grow would be shortened. In addition, there were very few people in the small world, and many cultivators did not know enough about it. Therefore, the possibility of encountering a natural treasure was not small. After hearing Di Beichen's words, she had asked Di Beichen to prepare a set of tools for digging herbs for her. When she looked at the cliff, she did not think of this point. It was only when she was looking for a shovel and other tools in her Qiankuan bag that she suddenly found this hemp rope. For the current situation, it was an excellent tool. "Since we have everything, let's start," Bailey Hongzhuang said. Chapter 1249. Bailey Hongzhuang wrapped the hemp rope around her waist. After confirming that it was secure, everyone pulled the other end of the hemp rope while Bailey Hongzhuang climbed up the cliff. The cliff was indeed difficult to support. Bailey Hongzhuang grabbed the rocks on the cliff with both hands and slowly approached the blood ginseng fruit. The closer she got to the blood ginseng fruit, the stronger the medicinal fragrance became. Bailey Hongzhuang's every movement was soul-stirring. Her body was like a bottomless abyss, white and misty. It was impossible to know how deep it was. Gong Shaoqing and the others held the hemp rope tightly. Their eyes were filled with worry and nervousness. They were afraid that something would go wrong. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang's every move was cautious and careful. Even in such a dangerous situation, Bailey Hongzhuang was still very calm. Step by step, she was not anxious. Finally, Bailey Hongzhuang successfully came to the side of the blood ginseng fruit. A smile appeared on everyone's faces when they saw this scene. When Hongzhuang could successfully pick the blood ginseng fruit, they only needed to pull Hongzhuang up. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the blood ginseng fruit tree in front of her. It was a very old blood ginseng fruit tree. There were 5 blood ginseng fruits on it. If it was a young blood ginseng fruit tree, it would be impossible to grow so many blood ginseng fruits. Their luck today was really good. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang plucked the 5 blood ginseng fruits from the blood ginseng fruit tree. As for the blood ginseng fruit tree, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and decided not to take it with her. After all, besides the cliff, the blood ginseng fruit tree could not be stored anywhere else. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang said to Gong Shaoqing and the others, "Okay, pull me up." Gong Shaoqing and the others nodded and immediately began to pull Bailey Hongzhuang. However, at this moment, a rough and fierce roar suddenly sounded from behind Gong Shaoqing and the others. Rumble! A huge sound came from a distance. It was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it came from a distance to Gong Shaoqing and the others. When Gong Shaoqing and the others saw the situation behind them, They could not help but take a breath. Heavenly Spirit Bear. Gong Xiaoqing looked at the heavenly bear that suddenly appeared in horror. The strength of the heavenly spirit bear was equivalent to a rank 5 orange realm monster beast. They did not expect that they would encounter a heavenly spirit bear here. The heavenly spirit bear's eyes were bloodshot, and after seeing Gong Xiaoqing's actions, it charged towards Gong Xiaoqing like a madman. When Xia Jiqing and the others saw the sudden appearance of the heavenly spirit bear, they were dumbfounded. Such a powerful monster beast, they were not its opponent at all. Dongfeng Yu, we will stop the heavenly spirit bear now. Jun Yu, quickly pull Hongzhuang up. Gong Xiaoqing quickly said. In the blink of an eye, the moment the heavenly spirit bear rushed over, Gong Xiaoqing also rushed towards the heavenly spirit bear with his weapon. In such a critical moment he had no choice but to do this. Behind them was a cliff. Once the heavenly spirit bear rushed over, all of them would fall into the cliff and be doomed. Dongfeng Yu's reaction was also very fast. After listening to Gong Xiaoqing's words, he immediately took out his weapon and attacked together with Gong Xiaoqing. The heavenly spirit bear saw that the two humans dared to attack it. Its blood-red eyes flashed with a fierce light and it slammed its claws directly. Chapter 1250. Boom! Although Gong Xiaoqing's reaction speed was extremely fast, the heavenly spirit bear's claw was completely crushing. Boom! Gong Xiaoqing's body fell heavily to the ground. The huge power of the heavenly spirit bear was simply irresistible. Even if he had tried his best to resist, the power was still transmitted to his body, and his internal organs were in severe pain. After the heavenly spirit bear slapped Gong Xiaoqing, it rushed to Xia Jiqing and the others at the edge of the cliff. Damn it! The heavenly spirit bear's mood could be said to be extremely depressed. It had guarded the blood ginseng fruit for so long, and it had finally matured, but now it was taken away by a group of guys. This was something it absolutely could not tolerate. Dongfeng Yu also went up, but he could not block the heavenly spirit bear's slap. His body fell heavily to the ground, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The gap between the red realm and the yellow realm was too big. Coupled with the terrifying power of the heavenly spirit bear, he was simply not the opponent of the heavenly spirit bear. The three beasts looked at each other, and their faces were all covered with a dignified color. This heavenly spirit bear should be the guardian beast of the blood ginseng fruit. I didn't see the guardian beast before, so it was here. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with a complicated and puzzled light. Generally, there would be a contract beast guarding the heavenly treasure. For a treasure like the blood ginseng fruit, there must be a contract beast guarding it. It was just that when they came here before, they did not see the figure of a contract beast. They felt a little strange, and thought that the situation in this small world was different from the outside world. There were no contract beasts here. Now it seemed that the situation was not so. They just did not know what this heavenly spirit bear was doing before, and it was not guarding the blood ginseng fruit. This heavenly spirit bear's eyes are blood red. Obviously, it has gone berserk, and its strength has greatly increased. It is not easy to deal with it. Xiao Bai frowned. The strength of the monsters in this small world was much stronger than the monsters in the outside world. After going berserk, the monsters' fighting strength would greatly increase, and their intelligence would degenerate, leaving only their fighting instincts. As a result, it was even more difficult to deal with it. There is no way, we can only fight. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai looked at each other. They could not let their master be in danger. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai attacked the sky spirit bear from both sides. They were both Orange Realm rank 5, so they had no problem dealing with the normal sky spirit bear. However, it was not that simple to deal with the heavenly spirit bear after it went berserk. Bang! Xiao Hei turned into a streak of white light, and her movements were extremely fast as she attacked the heavenly spirit bear. After kicking the heavenly spirit bear, Xiao Hei landed beside the heavenly spirit bear. The heavenly spirit bear originally did not put Xiao Hei in its eyes. It did not expect this fellow's attack to be so powerful. The sudden pain made it even more furious. Roar! The heavenly spirit bear roared and fiercely charged towards Xiao Hei. It wanted to tear this guy into pieces. And when the heavenly spirit bear attacked Xiao He, Xiao Bai's foot also fiercely kicked the heavenly spirit bear. They could only use their agility to fight against this humongous fellow. Bang bang bang. Xiao He and Xiao Bai attacked the heavenly spirit bear from both sides. They could only hope to stop the heavenly spirit bear from moving forward so that their master could catch up. Chapter 1251. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know what was going on up there, but she knew that enemies had appeared, and the fluctuations of the battle were extremely terrifying. She climbed up the cliff, and the rocks above rustled under the fluctuations of the battle. Just by looking at the situation, she knew that the situation was very serious, and quickly climbed up the cliff. Not far away, a group of cultivators were looking at Gong Shaoqing, and the others who were fighting with the heavenly spirit bear. Their eyes filled with a complicated light. I didn't expect that such a group of people would suddenly appear. It's really like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Lu Wendy's face was filled with dissatisfaction. They spent so much effort to lure the heavenly spirit bear away, just to get the blood ginseng fruit. They did not expect that halfway through, someone would come and snatch the blood ginseng fruit before them. Wasn't this making them work hard for nothing? I was wondering why the heavenly spirit bear suddenly came back after being lured away by us. So it's because someone took the blood ginseng fruit? Wei Yuanqing spoke out. Su Ilian's face was filled with displeasure. We spent so much effort. We can't let this group of people take advantage of us. We must get the blood ginseng fruit back. The blood ginseng fruit was a medicinal herb that could increase a cultivator's strength. No cultivator could ignore it. As long as they got the blood ginseng fruit, their strength would increase by another step. In this small world, the improvement of one's strength was just too important. The heavenly spirit bear is not easy to deal with. Now that this group of people has helped us get rid of the heavenly spirit bear, it's not too late for us to make a move. Fu Yiyu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke out, his deep eyes flashing with a trace of malice. Hearing Fu Yiyu's words, Su Ilian and the others all smiled. They originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were the oriole, but now it seemed that they were the real oriole. It was not that easy to take away what they had set their eyes on. Soon, they would let this group of people who suddenly appeared know the taste of drawing water with a bamboo basket. Yiyu, should we take advantage of this opportunity to catch them all? Su Ilian could not help but ask. Right now, the group of cultivators were locked in a fierce battle with the heavenly spirit bear. As long as they made a move now, the group of cultivators would be finished. Fu Yeyu looked at the situation not far away, shook his head and said, although the strength of this group of cultivators is not strong, the strength of those two demonic beasts is very strong. If we make a move now, if the heavenly spirit bear's attention is diverted, then the unlucky ones will be us. Fu Yeyu's lips curled into a sneer. Since we want to be the oriole, then we naturally have to wait for them to solve all their problems before we pick up the ready-made ones. Lu Wendy and the others looked at each other and smiled. Originally, they should be the ones to deal with this group of cultivators. They did not expect that a group of scapegoats would appear, saving them a lot of effort. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu finally pulled Bailey Hongzhuang up, and both of their foreheads were sweating. This was not because it took too much effort to pull Bailey Hongzhuang up, but because he was too nervous about the upcoming battle. Heavenly Spirit Bear. That was a really powerful demonic beast. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw the scene in front of her, a trace of surprise appeared on her pretty face. She did not expect that a heavenly spirit bear would suddenly appear. It was really unexpected. Chapter 1252. Looking carefully, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered the heavenly spirit bear's blood-red eyes, and immediately understood. Berserk was a special state unique to demonic beasts. Usually demonic beasts would enter this state when they were greatly stimulated, or when they were fighting with their lives on the line. Once a demonic beast entered this state, they would only have the instinct to fight. Their intelligence would weaken a lot, and their strength and attack power would increase. Because of this, even when Bai Shi released his aura, the heavenly spirit bear did not react. Her clear eyes were filled with a trace of doubt. It was not difficult to see that the heavenly spirit bear was the guardian beast of the blood ginseng fruit. However, the heavenly spirit bear was not there before, and when it appeared, it was in a berserk state. This was a bit strange. Could it be that the heavenly spirit bear had been stimulated before? Otherwise, it shouldn't be in this situation. Not far away, Fu Yiyu and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang, and a trace of surprise appeared on their faces. They had always thought that the person on the cliff should be a man. They did not expect it to be a woman, and an extremely beautiful one at that. This team really doesn't know how to be protective of the fairer sex. They actually let such a beauty pick the blood ginseng fruit. If it were us, we would definitely not do this. Lu Wenda ridiculed. Wei Yuanqing's face revealed a trace of a smile. This is a beauty of the highest quality. However, it seems that she is not easy to deal with. Their vision was far superior to Liang Xinghui and the others. Just by looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's cold expression and calm eyes, they could tell that this woman's strength was not ordinary. If it was an ordinary woman, she would not have the courage to climb the cliff, let alone be able to calmly analyze the situation after seeing the heavenly spirit bear. Su Ilian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was not far away. This woman indeed had a special trait that attracted men. However, she did not know how strong she was. Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fang, you were obviously not the heavenly spirit bear's opponent. After a few clashes, their faces were pale and they did not have the strength to continue fighting. Under the absolute difference in strength, all efforts were in vain. At this moment, there were only 3 beasts attacking the heavenly spirit bear. But the heavenly spirit bear's skin was thick, and even if they attacked with all their might, the heavenly spirit bear was unable to cause much damage. On the other hand, White Lion's strength was not comparable to Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Although its reaction speed was very fast, it could not avoid being injured under the heavenly spirit bear's crazy attacks. In the blink of an eye, Bailey Hongzhuang had already understood everything after a simple glance at the situation in front of her. With a thought, the colored glass sword appeared in her hand. With a leap, Bailey Hongzhuang's Yuan Qi surged, and without hesitation, she attacked the heavenly spirit bear. Ding! The glass sword pierced the heavenly spirit bear's body, but Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that the heavenly spirit bear's body was abnormally hard, and couldn't be pierced like normal. With a surge of Yuan Qi, the tip of the glass sword exploded with a burst of bright Yuan Qi light. Following that, Bailey Hongzhuang stabbed again, and the glass sword finally successfully pierced the heavenly spirit bear's body. The sudden pain caused the heavenly spirit bear to roar crazily, and a pair of blood-red eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although the 3 little ones had made it feel a little pain, it didn't feel much of it. However, this stab was too much for it to bear. Roar! In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang focused her mind and the elemental force in her body surged out. The aura of an Orange Realm Level 2 exploded instantly. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands flipped and a complex seal was formed between her hands, mysterious and full of power. As Bailey Hongzhuang's hands formed more and more seals, the elemental force in the surrounding air also had a few changes. After the heavenly spirit bear felt the changes in the elemental force, it became even more violent and immediately rushed to Bailey Hongzhuang again. After seeing this situation, the 3 beasts quickly blocked it. No matter what, they had to let Master finish her martial arts. The azure flame Saint Palm would cause some damage to the heavenly spirit bear, but it would not be fatal. The following battle would be even more fierce. Roar! Was spirit 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 heavenly spirit 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 heave spirit 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 white 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 blood. The blood was also of the blood red, white white blood of the. It was a bloody mess. It was obvious that Bailey Hongzhuang's attack had caused quite a bit of damage to the heavenly spirit bear. The heavenly spirit bear's scarlet eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, its eyes flashing with an ominous glint as if it wanted to eat Bailey Hongzhuang. Hiss! Chapter 1255. The Heavenly Spirit Bear charged towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, it only had eyes for Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since it was born, it had never been in such a sorry state. Its body was in excruciating pain. It must tear this despicable human into pieces. Seeing the Heavenly Spirit Bear closing in on her, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression turned serious. She used fulgurating shadows and dodged the Heavenly Spirit Bear's attack. However, the Heavenly Spirit Bear's attack still followed closely behind her. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang had attracted all of the Heavenly Spirit Bear's hatred. "Master, be careful!" Xiao He quickly shouted and charged towards the Heavenly Spirit Bear. The Heavenly Spirit Bear seemed to have identified Bailey Hongzhuang and only wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. It did not care about Xiao He's attack. Xiao Bai and Bai Shi went up to help. This big guy was not easy to deal with. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with wisdom and calmness. The Heavenly Spirit Bear was already strong. Luckily, the sacred green flame palm had injured the Heavenly Spirit Bear and weakened its strength. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's attacks landed on the Heavenly Spirit Bear. However, the Heavenly Spirit Bear did not care at all. It was completely focused on Bailey Hongzhuang. It must kill this despicable woman. Rumble. With every step the Heavenly Spirit Bear took, the ground shook violently. Everyone stood at the edge of the cliff. They felt that the ground was shaking so violently that it could break at any time. The Heavenly Spirit Bear closed in. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely fast, the Heavenly Spirit Bear only used its body to block Bailey Hongzhuang and forced Bailey Hongzhuang into a corner. Bang! The Heavenly Spirit Bear's huge paw attacked Bailey Hongzhuang again. The huge paw was like a black mass that slapped towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Once Bailey Hongzhuang was hit by this palm, no one doubted that Bailey Hongzhuang would be badly mutilated. "Master! Hongzhuang!" The three beasts and Xia Jiqing and the others spoke at the same time. Their faces were filled with horror, and their hearts seemed to stop beating in an instant. An unspeakable sense of fear spread in their hearts. Roar! At this moment the white lion's deafening roar spread out. The loud and shocking voice entered everyone's ears, and the entire world seemed to have a moment of silence. When the Heavenly Spirit Bear heard the white lion's roar, it was stunned for a moment. Its eyes were still blood-red, but it was instinctively afraid of the roar. In this short moment of stagnation, Bailey Hongzhuang's figure had already jumped out of the encirclement. Not far away, Fu Yeyu and the others heard the white lion's roar and their expressions suddenly changed. When they heard this roar, they only felt their hearts tremble, as if there was a natural pressure spreading from their hearts, making them tremble. What kind of monster beast is this? His voice is so amazing. Su Ilian's face was filled with an incredible color. It was the first time she had heard such a terrifying roar, and she had never heard it from a contract beast. It was really shocking. Before, this little guy showed the fighting power of the 5th level of the Red Realm, which was already very amazing. I didn't expect the roar to be so amazing. It seems that it is definitely not an ordinary monster beast. Chapter 1256. This woman is not simple either, to be able to contract a demonic beast of this level. Lu Wendy's face was filled with astonishment, but he quickly frowned. But, since she can even contract a demonic beast of this level, how could she be from a small empire? Maybe she just happened to be lucky enough to contract such a demonic beast. It can only be said that she's lucky. Su Ilian shrugged her shoulders, her expression showing that she did not think much of it. As she spoke, Su Ilian could not help but look at Fu Yeyu. "Brother Fu, do you think I'm right?" However, Fu Yeyu did not answer Su Ilian's question. His gaze was fixed on the white lion. He had a feeling that this little fellow was definitely an extremely terrifying demonic beast. However, because it was still very young, it could not fully display its strength. In a few more years, this little fellow would definitely be an extremely extraordinary existence. Didn't you guys notice that when this little fellow roared, even the Heavenly Spirit Bear was stunned for a moment? Fu Yeyu narrowed his eyes. Others did not notice this, but he did not miss it. Following Fu Yeyu's words, Su Ilian and the other two were all stunned. Following that, their faces could not help but be filled with shock. They had not noticed this before, but now that Fu Yeyu had reminded them, they immediately understood how terrifying it was. For a demonic beast of the heavenly spirit bear's level to change due to its roar, this proves that this contracted beast level is above the heavenly spirit bears. When everyone thought of this, their expressions could not help but change. At this moment, they could not help but envy Bailey Hongzhuang. A contracted beast was already an extremely rare existence, and a powerful contracted beast was even rarer. They did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang could contract a demonic beast of such a level. She was truly extraordinarily lucky. Wei Yuanqing's expression gradually changed, and his heart was filled with shock. The heavenly spirit bear is currently in a berserk state. When this was said, everyone was stunned once again. This sentence was like a bomb that exploded in everyone's hearts. A feeling of disbelief spread in everyone's minds. This was simply impossible. Whenever a demonic beast fell into a berserk state, their intelligence would rapidly decline. They would not be able to think of anything else, and would only be left with their battle instincts. Even if a stronger monster appeared in front of it, it wouldn't feel the slightest bit of fear. It wouldn't even care about the suppression of its level. However, White Lion's roar had stunned the berserk heavenly spirit bear for a moment. This was not a simple matter. Then what level is this contracted beast? At this moment, Su Ilian didn't know what to say. What kind of demonic beast could do this? Moreover, this little guy was still so young. How terrifying would he be in the future? Fu Yeyu no longer spoke. His eyes were fixed on the three demonic beasts. None of them were simple. The other fellows were all injured. Now, only the white-clothed woman and her three contracted beasts were fighting together. This situation was really strange. If he could get his hands on these contracted beasts, it would be a huge gain. Compared to the surprise of Su Ilian and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang was still in battle. Chapter 1257. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu accompanied Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu. The two of them had been hit hard by the heavenly spirit bear, and their injuries were very serious. The strength of the heavenly spirit bear was so great that one move was enough to make people's internal organs churn. The two of them had endured the attack of the heavenly spirit bear, and were now very weak. Even if the two of them had taken healing medicine, their internal injuries were obviously not something that could be healed in a short time. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu both felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Facing such a monster, the two of them were so helpless. They were a team, but after such a crisis appeared, they did not have the strength to face it. They just watched from the side. Their hearts were already anxious, but if they went up to fight, they knew that they would not be able to do anything at all. It was better to wait for an opportunity. Maybe there would be a chance to help Hongzhuang. Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang worriedly. They wanted to fight, but with their current physical condition, they simply did not have the ability to continue fighting. At this moment, everyone only hated that they were not strong enough. If they were strong enough, then they would not be so powerless in such a situation. Junyu, we are fine. You go and see if you can help Hongzhuang. Dong Fangyu said. Now the heavenly spirit bear's attention was completely attracted by Hongzhuang, and would not care about them at all. Listening to Dong Fangyu's words, Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing also nodded. Then you be careful. After that, Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing picked up their weapons and went to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. No matter what, they had to do their part. They saw Bailey Hongzhuang's hands turn over, and the vigorous spirit energy continued to surge out of her body, followed by a more scorching force than before. A huge green flaming palm appeared in the air once again. The heavenly spirit bear became more violent after seeing this familiar blue flame palm. Its previous injury was because of this blue flame palm. Not far away, Fu Yeyu and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang use the same trick again, and there was a trace of surprise in their eyes. Su Ilian curled her lips as her expression revealed a hint of disdain. Previously, everyone had thought too highly of this white-clothed girl. Now, it seemed that this girl only knew this profound rank martial skill. Her strength was far from being as strong as they thought. It seems that the white-clothed woman is also at her wit's end. Apart from this move, she doesn't have any other moves. Lu Wendy and the others didn't speak when they heard this. To cultivators from small dynasties, being able to grasp a profound rank martial skill was already extremely good. Even if they used the same move, as long as they could achieve results, it would be very good. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had already used this trick before. Even if she used it again, it might not be as effective. Yiyu, in my opinion, why don't we wait for this white-clothed girl to finish this move and then make a move? Wei Yuanqing said slowly. Thinking about it, after Bailey Hongzhuang's move was finished, this heavenly spirit bear's injury would be even more serious. If they all made a move together, this heavenly spirit bear would be finished. Hearing this, Fu Yeyu thought for a moment and said, "Let's see the situation first. This white-clothed girl should have other ideas." Chapter 1258. Xia Jiqing and the others immediately knew Bailey Hongzhuang's plan after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang display this move. They had seen Hongzhuang display this move in the last college tournament. It was the same Azure Flame Holy Palm, but the power of the two had a huge difference. The Azure Flame Holy Palm gave people a feeling that it was difficult to resist, but the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm gave people an indescribable feeling of horror. They could faintly feel that the Azure Flame Holy Palm was a primary profound level martial skill, and the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm must have reached the intermediate profound level martial skill. They were also very amazed by Hongzhuang's martial skill. Because the situation of the Azure Flame Holy Palm was really special, they had never heard of such a transformation martial skill, and after the transformation the power could increase so much. Speaking of which, Hongzhuang had a lot of special places, and they had already gotten used to it. Sure enough, after Bailey Hongzhuang displayed the Azure Flame Holy Palm, the next moment, the gesture of her hands suddenly changed. The Azure Flame Holy Palm gradually became smaller in everyone's eyes, and a palpitating power spread out from the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm. The originally hot temperature was now even hotter, and the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm was like the core of the flame, which was eye-catching. What kind of martial skill is this? Lu Wendy's face was filled with indescribable surprise. It can actually change like this. They knew that some martial skills had different moves, but the sudden shrinking of the martial skill was really strange. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang obviously compressed the power of the Azure Flame Holy Palm, making the energy more condensed and the power more terrifying. Su Ilian's face was a bit ugly. Just a moment ago, she was still laughing at Bailey Hongzhuang, and the next moment Bailey Hongzhuang displayed such a special move, which made her somewhat embarrassed. The things on this woman are really not simple. There must be a lot of treasures in her Qiankuan bag. Wei Yuanqing chuckled. The other cultivators did not show too much, but they had already seen a lot of special things from Bailey Hongzhuang. Thinking about it, their harvest this time was really not small. When the heavenly spirit bear saw the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm, it had some doubts, and immediately rushed toward Bailey Hongzhuang again. It really hated this annoying human in front of it. She was obviously not as strong as it, but she was as cunning as a loach, making it impossible for it to catch her. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements was also extremely fast. With a wave, the shrunken Azure Flame Holy Palm once again rushed toward the heavenly spirit bear. Bang! An earth-shattering sound seemed to come from the heavens, exploding in everyone's ears. Countless clouds of dust once again spread out, obscuring everyone's vision. Everyone's gaze was focused on the cloud of dust, only wanting to know the situation of the heavenly spirit bear. Her black phoenix eyes stared at the smoke and dust in the sky. Bailey Hongzhuang's pretty face was expressionless. She had a certain amount of confidence in her sacred azure flame palm. It did its attack. Palms. Although the berserk heavenly spirit bear was stronger, it had lost its intelligence, so it was easy to deal with. If it was a cultivator of this level, it would be really difficult for her to deal with it. Demonic beasts that did not know martial skills were undoubtedly much easier to deal with. Chapter 1259. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent as she slowly said, "I can't be sure, but even if it didn't die, this blow made it uncomfortable." After a long while under everyone's gaze, the smoke gradually dissipated, and a burnt smell spread. Everyone could clearly see the situation in the smoke. The heavenly spirit bear had fallen to the ground, and its blood-red eyes gradually regained their clarity. It seemed that it was breathing more than it was inhaling. Seeing the heavenly spirit bear's dying appearance, the faces of Xia Jiqing and the others were filled with joy. Success! Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing also breathed a sigh of relief. Their originally tense hearts were also put down, and their slightly pale handsome faces were filled with smiles. After such a thrilling battle, it was finally resolved safely. "Hongzhuang, you are really amazing." Xia Jiqing's face could not hide the excitement. The heavenly spirit bear was a monster beast, and it was simply a disaster. There was no other choice but to escape. However, now Hongzhuang had directly killed the heavenly spirit bear. What kind of strength was this? Gong Shaoqing's heart was also filled with emotion. Thinking back to the college tournament, Bailey Hongzhuang had difficulty displaying the miniature version of the sacred blue flame palm. Now, when Bailey Hongzhuang displayed it again, her expression was very relaxed, and it was no longer as simple as before. This point alone was enough to prove that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had improved during this time. Amazing! Bai Junyu gave Bailey Hongzhuang a thumbs up. This kind of strength was really admirable. Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the side of Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu, a trace of concern on her face. "How are your injuries?" Gong Shaoqing waved his hand. "We suffered a little internal injury. We only need to recuperate for a while to recover." Although there was a burning pain in their internal organs, it did not hurt their foundation. They only needed to rest for a while. Dongfang Yu nodded slightly, agreeing with Gong Shaoqing's statement. Even if they were injured today, compared to their gains, this injury was nothing. However, there was also an indescribable sense of urgency in his heart. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had improved so quickly, leaving them far behind. They must desperately catch up with Bailey Hongzhuang. Otherwise, in the future, the gap between them would become bigger and bigger, and in the future, they would not even be qualified to be teammates with Bailey Hongzhuang. This was not what he wanted. Bailey Hongzhuang checked Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu's pulse. Both of their internal organs had suffered a certain shock, obviously caused by the heavenly spirit bear's strength. Their injuries, and their injuries. Once they fell off the cliff, it would be really dangerous. "My internal injuries are quite serious." "It seems that I will need to rest for a few days." Hongzhuang, Dongfang Yu, and Dongfang Yu, Dongfang Yu, and Dongfang S and Shaoqing, and Dongfang and Dongfang Yi Dongfang. Based on their current location, there was still a certain distance from the city where they were resting. It would not be easy for the two of them to rush back. The three beasties had already surrounded the heavenly spirit bear. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes were filled with desire. "I heard that this heavenly spirit bear's taste is not bad. Looks like we can try it today." Many demonic beasts' meat was not delicious, but some demonic beasts' meat could be said to be delicious. Obviously, this heavenly spirit bear's meat was delicious. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.